Hi, on the occasion of World Liver Day, we present to you a series of awareness videos by Dr. Vikas Prakash, a well-known super specialist in liver and gastrointestinal diseases from Kolkata, India. Today we are going to discuss on hepatitis. So welcome Dr. Vikas. My first question to you is, what is hepatitis? Is it same as jaundice?
Hello ma'am, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. See, hepatitis is any inflammation of the liver. When the liver swells up and on testing you see a rise in markers like AST and ALT, previously known as SGOT, SGPT. If it is risen, it denotes the liver cells are getting injured and there is some inflammation going on in the liver. So this is liver inflammation and commonly known as hepatitis in medical literature. Jaundice, on the other hand, can be a feature of hepatitis, but it's not same as hepatitis per se. Hepatitis can lead to jaundice. Jaundice is basically a yellowish discoloration of eyes or urine. It occurs due to increase in bilirubin. So, as a part of hepatitis like hepatitis A, B, or various other hepatitis, jaundice can be a part of the symptoms, but it's not same as hepatitis. So, hepatitis can continue indefinitely. And there may not be any jaundice. When the liver cells fail, then they may give rise to jaundice. If the bile ducts get obstructed, there can be jaundice because bile is not going into the gut. If the liver cells swell up, then also there can be jaundice due to cholestasis. If a stone is stuck up in the bile ducts, there can be jaundice. So jaundice can be due to multiple reasons. If there is increased breakdown of blood cells, then they can also lead to jaundice. So jaundice can happen even without hepatitis. So both are not same and both are different. Jaundice is just a yellowish discoloration of eyes and urine, and hepatitis is per se a liver disease, inflammation of the liver manifested by biochemistry in elevation of AST, ALT or maybe SGOT-PT rise. Thank you.
So Dr. Vikas, what are the causes of hepatitis or why does it happen?
So, ma'am, since hepatitis is a liver inflammation, that is injury to the liver, there has to be an injuring agent. So, the agent can be various hepatitic viruses like hepatitis A, hepatitis B, C, D, E. Some drugs can lead to injury, that's called drug-induced liver injury, herbal products, Chinese herbal medicines. This can cause injury to the liver. There can be other rare diseases in which the body self-destructs its liver, that's called autoimmune liver disease, primary biliary cholangitis, primary sclerosing cholangitis, Wilson's disease, some storage disorders which are commonly seen in infants and young adulthood or maybe childhood, which can lead to hepatitis and liver inflammation. These most of the hepatitis B, C, and it can also be involved in some other diseases like connective tissue disorders. And if there is sudden fall in blood pressure, then it can also lead to an ischemic hepatitis in which liver cells are massively injured and enzymes are released in the blood. So there are multiple injuring agents which can lead to hepatitis per se. And it can be transferred by blood like HIV, hepatitis B and C can be transmitted by infected needles, infected blood products. So there are multiple modes of transmission. Hepatitis A and E has a fecal oral transmission like in contaminated water, contaminated food. There are some genetic diseases. Wilson's disease is a genetic disease in which there is problem with copper. So there are multiple factors, but more so we have to look for it in form of hepatitis B, C, A and E, which are commonly found. Other rare diseases, for everything you have to consult a doctor, you have to meet your liver specialist to decipher the cause of liver hepatitis in your case.
So Dr. Vikas, what are the symptoms of hepatitis or how one can know he or she has hepatitis?
Yeah, that's a very good question, very pertinent to the patients. See, if somebody has acute hepatitis, so hepatitis can be acute, that is, it has occurred over a short period of time, or it can be chronic, it has been present since birth or a very long time and you don't know of it. So, if somebody has decrease in appetite, if somebody digestion suffers, somebody has vomiting sensations, you can have easy fatigue, abdominal pain, vomiting sensation all the time, weakness generalized, you have lost your taste for food, you have decreased appetite, you have change in order of food. So these are the presentations of acute hepatitis. If somebody has chronic hepatitis, then they can develop advanced liver disease, in which the patient may develop pedal edema, swelling of the feet. Water may accumulate in the tummy. Patient may have ascites and water in tummy, which needs to be taken out, or maybe water pills need to be prescribed for it. Forgetfulness. The patient can become weak gradually. Muscle mass may be lost. The patient may become drowsy. There may be alteration in sleep cycle. Patient will sleep in the morning and then get up at night. So there is a reversal of sleep cycle. There can be jaundice in advanced stages. And in advanced liver disease, there can be blood vomiting, black stools. On skin, there can be easy bruisability. You touch the skin, on trivial injuries, the skin may become bruised, which takes 3-4 days or maybe a week to heal. So these are the symptoms which can develop if you have hepatitis, and you need to get tested if you doubt it.
Now, the most important question, Dr. Vikas. Suppose we suspect that we have hepatitis, whom the patient should approach, and what is the right method for its diagnosis? Is it really very complicated?
Absolutely no, ma'am. Once you suspect that you have hepatitis, you need to see a liver specialist. You need to see a qualified liver specialist to assess whether your suspicion is correct or not. And simple blood tests are available to diagnose hepatitis A, E, B and C, which are the most common hepatitis. If you have taken alcohol, and more so in binges, and you have taken a lot of alcohol, you can have alcoholic hepatitis. So history is forthcoming. Rarely there are some uncommon diseases like autoimmune hepatitis, which require some costly blood tests. Wilson's disease require estimation of urine copper, and primary biliary cholangitis, and primary sclerosing cholangitis. This require MRI, MRCP, these kind of tests. So these assessment of these diseases are a bit complicated, but 90% of the diseases are covered under hepatitis A, B, C, alcohol, non-alcoholic, that is fatty liver related hepatitis. And for rare complicated disease, of course, you need to do a liver biopsy and various other costly tests. Otherwise, most of the time, simple blood test rule out whether you have hepatitis B, C, A, and E, and effective and right treatment can cure you of the diseases.
Okay, Dr. Vikas, once we have diagnosed hepatitis, how do we treat it?
Treatment depends on the cause of hepatitis. So if it is hepatitis, first you have to diagnose what's the cause of hepatitis. That is the most important and integral part. So what do we do with the hepatitis? If we see that hepatitis by blood test is due to hepatitis A or hepatitis E, so in 99% of the cases, these require just blood monitoring of liver functions, because in 1% of the cases they do get complicated, leading to acute liver failure, and they require just symptomatic management, because the liver itself regenerates and heals itself over a period of maybe months or 2 months. Sometimes the disease course is protected. But for hepatitis B, hepatitis C, they are effective oral medications. Just a single day, one pill a day, and C has a defined course of 3 months to 6 months. And hepatitis B also has newer drugs with lesser side effects on kidney and bones. And the remission rates and stoppage of drugs have improved recently with the use of these drugs. And there are many more drugs in pipeline which are to be launched in the market in phase 3 trials. So effective treatment is available, but the most important part of hepatitis B, hepatitis C, these are chronic hepatitis. And sometimes in acute flares of hepatitis B, you don't even require treatment. So always a qualified liver specialist should be visited, and diagnosis should be ascertained whether you need treatment at all, because there is no drug in this world to treat hepatitis as such. You always treat the cause of hepatitis. If there is an insulting cause, you have to remove. It is hepatitis B, you have to remove hepatitis B. If it's hepatitis C, you have to remove hepatitis C, because liver heals by itself. And for the rare diseases, with Wilson's, you have a different copper chelating agents are required, and there are other drugs which are to be required. Steroids are required for autoimmune hepatitis, some immunomodulators, and UDCA is required for PSC, PBC. So these are the rare diseases whose treatment is very protected, and protracted treatment, and is time taking, and patient may not also get well on treatment. But for hepatitis B, C, A, any taper treatment is very simple. Alcoholic hepatitis treatment is simple if there is no underlying damage. So the and very important part of the assessment is if there is a chronic hepatitis going on, like alcohol, fatty liver, hepatitis B, C, you have to always assess the damage already done over time. So if the patient has had it since a long time, what's the damage already done? Has the liver suffered a chronic injury? So that assessment is also very important. Otherwise, treatment is very simple and not very, very costly as it used to be.
So, Dr. Vikas, as we all know, prevention is always better than cure. Is there any way we can prevent hepatitis? If yes, how?
Of course, ma'am, prevention is always better than cure, and even financially more sound than treatment. Also, it's your body. Even if you have money, prevention is always better than cure. So the most important cause of liver disease is alcohol. So if you take a lot of alcohol, your liver will get damaged over time. Alcohol leads to alcoholic fatty liver, fat accumulation in the liver, toxic generation. Binge drinking is more dangerous. So drink only what your liver can detoxify. And there are also genetic basis to it. Not everybody can consume alcohol for entire life and remain healthy. So here comes the role of assessment. So meet your liver specialist, get your liver assessed, whether it's working well or not. Or if there is some problem, term hepatitis is going on, you need to cut down or maybe stop alcohol altogether. Hepatitis B is easily preventable with just a simple vaccine. Hepatitis C, therefore this hepatitis C, there is no vaccine. For hepatitis E, there is no vaccine in India for hepatitis E. Hepatitis A is a vaccine, has a vaccine which is normally given in childhood. Autoimmune hepatitis, Wilson's disease, PBC and PSC we cannot prevent because these are genetic diseases, and often there are for autoimmune hepatitis there are triggers, sometimes drugs, environmental factors. So this is not within our hands to prevent these diseases. We can of course curtail or look into the side effects and always monitor if we are consuming herbal products, plant-based derivatives of which we are not sure of the side effects, because they are an important cause of drug-induced liver injury, and many of our patients land up with jaundice and itching with liver failure due to drug-induced liver injury. So drugs, particularly if we are not knowing of them, should be avoided, and if ever you want to consume that, the liver functions should be monitored on that. So this is how we can prevent hepatitis. And hepatitis A and E, is waterborne. So contaminated water, if the water gets mixed with sewage water, or you are eating from unhygienic places which are common in developing countries, so you should just look into, and if there is a pandemic in some area with the hepatitis A and E, you should avoid, and you should always have cooked foods, and water should be drunk from hygienic sources. So this is how you can prevent hepatitis A, E, B with vaccine. For genetic diseases, you don't have any control. Liver disease, hepatitis, NASH due to fatty liver, you can decrease your weight, control your diabetes, decrease your fat intake, monitor your liver fat, monitor triglycerides. So this is how you can prevent these diseases from progressing.
Dr. Vikas, I have one important question. One of my relatives developed severe liver failure. She had joint pain and she used to take medicines for pain and herbal medicines on and off. So my question is, can medicines also lead to liver failure, and how they can cause liver damage?
See, medicines of course sometimes can lead to liver failure, but this is very rarely seen with allopathic medicines. They have all in their pamphlets written whether which drug is hepatotoxic. You have to measure liver function test if you are taking particular allopathic medicines like antifungals, which are the common cause of transaminitis, that is rise in AST and ALT. Herbal products like if somebody has knee pain or backache and the patient resorts to herbal products. Of course, it's the belief of the patient on herbal medicine. They can of course take it, but they have to always monitor their liver because they are the cause of drug-induced liver injury. The drugs which cause liver injury is called DILI, drug-induced liver injury. which can at times lead to liver failure, chronic liver disease, jaundice, itching, and frank cirrhosis. So you have to always keep in mind drug-induced liver injury. If you are taking herbal products, don't take any off-prescription medicines. Even if you are going for alternative medicine, you are taking complementary and alternative medicine, herbal products, Chinese herbal medicines, or some plant products. Always keep your liver in check. Do meet a allopathic hepatologist, a qualified liver disease specialist, to see whether your liver function is alright or not. If your liver is okay and the drugs are benefiting you in your disease, they don't have any dangerous medicines like steroids and other drugs mixed with them, you can of course continue them if your liver is okay, if your kidney is okay, and the drugs are benefiting you. So this way drugs can cause drug-induced liver injury and cirrhosis.
Dr. Vikas, would you recommend any particular diet for liver patients?
See, the liver has lot of regenerative capacity. You can't detoxify your liver and give some heavy and very nutritious diet for your liver and detoxify your liver. Liver has a very huge regenerative capacity. But diet in liver disease is a very broad topic. Now that you have raised it, I think I'll be making another video on separately for diet in liver disease. What are the diets which are healthy for your liver, and for particular diseases like alcohol, what should be the diet. I'll make a separate video. But as far as hepatitis is concerned, hepatitis A and E, which you normally see with decrease in appetite and vomiting sensation due to contaminated food, water, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, they don't need any specific diet. Believe me, they don't need any specific diet, neither giving nor any restriction. So you don't need to restrict yellow foods. Some people restrict spicy food, some people restrict turmeric, and some people restrict non-vegetarian foods. You can have anything and everything once you have hepatitis. It's not going to affect your liver. So diet should be normal. So normal diet in liver disease. Unless until you have developed some complication of liver disease like cirrhosis and watering tummy and encephalopathy, when you have to adjust diet a bit and change in sodium and your water intake. Otherwise, just acute hepatitis, no change in diet, go ahead with your normal diet and stop the injuring agent. If it's alcoholic hepatitis, of course you have to stop alcohol. But diet in liver disease, I'll make a separate video, so you can just look into it. It's a broad topic.
So thank you, Dr. Vikas, for such an informative session. We look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on this very relevant topic of hepatitis. Even if I can save one patient with my informations, save the life, because transplant is very costly, and we can, if progression to liver failure can be prevented by prevention of herbal medicines or alcohol, and patients get tested for hepatitis B and C. 2 to 4% of the patient population in India is in intermediate zone. So 2 to 4%, that's around 2 to 4 crore people, plus another 2% for hepatitis C. There are around 6 crore people infected in India. So if they get tested, and even if I can save one life, this video I think is a huge success. Thank you.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Such informative videos will benefit many more from a super specialist doctor like you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.